You're listening to Teka Teka, and in this episode, we talk about Senator Robin Padilla's controversial comments about consent and how well our elected officials represent and work towards women's safety, rights, and welfare. I'm Teka Teka executive producer Jill Caro, and I'm joined by Teka Teka reporters Bella Perez Rubio
Hi.
and Tati Maligro.
Hello.
Thanks for joining, Bella and Tati. So let's start our discussion by asking Bella about to talk us through about what happened at the Senate hearing. Yan.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll preface this by saying I was a Senate reporter for quite a while, so I'm used to watching these viral exchanges, but this one was particularly hard to watch. I mean, just so everyone has the context of what this hearing was even about, Senator Robin Padilla is the head of the Senate Committee on Media, and they were supposed to be investigating having a hearing on alleged abuses, sexual abuse in the media industry. But for whatever reason, the clip that went viral was this exchange between Padilla and a women's rights advocate about consent. Because Padilla opened a line of questioning about when no means no and when no might not mean no, which, as we know, is a fairly harmful line of thinking to begin with. And the women's rights advocate that he was questioning kind of tried to put her foot down and say, actually, no always means no. But Robin was persevering and saying, but men have urges. What about when you're a wife and you have a duty to your husband? Again, quite harmful lines of thinking. So, this is the clip from the hearing that went viral, and Senator Padilla essentially had to apologize later on and say, actually, I was just asking hypothetically, these aren't my beliefs. But, I mean, if you ask me as someone who was watching, it was pretty clear that those were his beliefs. I mean, he was really advocating, but men, as we know, have higher sexual drive than women. This is what he said, not me. So how can it be that women can just say no? Like, what is a man supposed to do if his wife says no? Wag na lang, wala na lang. And again, perpetuating another line of thinking like men can't survive, like men can't even go 30 minutes, I think he said, when they feel the urge and then are told no. So, yeah, I mean, you can understand why there was a lot of controversy and outrage over the exchange. And since then, it's opened up this discussion about consent and why no means no. And I guess, I mean, for some corners of the internet, does no actually mean no? So, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
happened. I guess is it's unfortunate that with such a big platform, I mean, they were investigating an issue that I'm sure has drawn a lot of media attention because it involves celebrities. Senator Padilla is himself a celebrity. So it's unfortunate that with all those eyeballs and with all those ears, the discussion was so not just rudimentary and basic and uneducated, but also harmful. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that we even have to talk about the fact that no means no, that being someone's wife is still a factor, as if there's some sort of obligation there that we have to consider. There was even one thing Robin Padillas, I think, I don't want people to think that this is just something that affects women. There's even something Senator Padilla said about the fact, like, I think he asked verbatim, can men even say no? Again, under the context of you have a duty in marriage to always say yes to sex. So I mean that's so harmful, just the way that question is phrased. Do men even have the right to say no? Of course they do. But if you're hearing that from an elected senator and Robin Padilla, who is, I guess, this, some people view him as this ideal type of masculine and masculinity, and he asks a question in that way, even that I think is inherently harmful. So that was my reaction.
I was definitely very disappointed that an official elected to a position as high as the Senate would be asking these really dangerous questions about consent. Um, even in a situation of even in the situation na married kayong dalawa, because these are these are rights, these are protections that we've been kind of fighting towards protecting more with the passage of anti-rape laws, the anti-bastos law was also passed a few years back. So it's really disappointing. I also kind of wanted to point out some, I guess, behavior that Senator Padilla and his wife exhibited on social media before they actually clarified his statement in the Senate, because his wife, she's also an actress, Mariel Rodriguez Padilla, she posted a photo of them kissing. I guess for me, it kind of came off as she was downplaying the whole issue, because she posted it with the caption na parang, "Oh, my consent, yana." And the senator
Yeah.
actually made pretty lewd remarks on the comment section, for a lack of better term. Downplaying these issues of consent really kind of takes us like three steps back talaga from whatever progress that we were able to do in the Philippines since that.
So, in social media, people were asked, particularly women were asked, like, imagine they're alone in the woods, just them and the trees, and suddenly they hear a rustling, and
Mm.
they turn around and there's someone in front of them. So, and the question is, would they rather it be a bear or a man? So this hypothetical scenario has actually sparked quite a debate recently, because there's so many people weighing in, and interestingly, vast majority of women and even men say that they'd rather face a bear than a man. So if ever you'll be alone in the woods, which would you rather encounter, a bear or men like Robin Padilla?
Yeah, well, I think you made that question even easier to answer when you said men like Robin Padilla. And I think men like Robin Padilla are exactly the reason that, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of women on social media said bear. And that's why this debate was sparked in the first place. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, my answer is I would rather encounter a bear. I mean, there are survival tips for dealing with a bear in the woods. I think with a man, yes, there are survival tips, but every man is different. So I would imagine that the process of keeping yourself safe from a man varies, whereas with a bear, I would think it's the same. And as long as you do things right, you have a good chance of being safe.
Parang I think there was a saying na parang, if it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back.
Oh.
And if it's white, good night. And we don't have that with men kasi. Because
Yeah,
at
well,
least with, diba? At least with bears kasi, depending on the type of bear, you kind of know what their behavior, yung aggressiveness nila. So you know whether you should make a run for it, you should fight back, or mag-pray ka na lang para sa sarili mo. But with men kasi it's so unpredictable, and women are subjected to um parang a lot of different microaggressions um, by men, and these range from a lot of things. Catcalling, for example, wolf whistling, even though these were things na parang pinagbabawal dapat sa anti-bastos law, and in the early years, I think after that was passed, some women did try to pursue they tried to report these cases, or tried to I think some of them actually even tried to press charges talaga. Parang there's still that um feeling of unsafeness, kasi parang that's just one person, number one, and number two, parang it takes a change in mindset, a change in culture, kumbaga, to be able to um you know make this country, make this place, this world, like a safer place for women in general. So parang um we're still a long way to go from there. And until then, like we're still trying to get to a place where men can like where women can feel much safer around men. And parang hopefully we do eventually get to that point na yung man na yung pipiliin natin. But for there we're not for now we're not there yet. So I'm going with the bear.
Yeah, so you two actually gave really good points, no? And I believe na yung disappointment natin over this issue is also based on the fact that Robin Padilla is actually a senator, di ba? A public servant. And if, public servants like him can just easily or parang normal sa kanila na magbigay ng mga gantong harmful content, then meron talaga siyang impact definitely, no? Pero actually, ano kasi this is not the first time that a male senator like Robin said or acted in a problematic manner during, hearings like what Bella mentioned kanina na supposedly very important talaga na meron dapat issue na ma-address. Pero sadly, whenever they act like this, yung focus na pupunta doon instead of the actual issue that was supposed to be talked about. So, how do you feel about male senators like Robin not doing their assignments and coming to these hearings or any other official engagements as a senator na ganito na parang they're making fun of things na hindi naman dapat pinagtatawanan, tapos yun nga they're giving these problematic and harmful comments, and and hindi talaga nila ina-address or hindi sila sobrang nakakatulong to really address kung ano man yung concerns sa committee na either kinabibilangan nila or nililid nila. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really touched on the heart of the issue there, which is senators coming to these hearings, coming to their job, male senators in particular, coming to these hearings or coming to legislation or discussions that impact women's rights, women's welfare, women's safety, and not doing their homework. And I really don't know what the excuse is, what they tell themselves when they do this. Because, I mean, if you're a senator, your constituency is the whole country, meaning majority of your constituency is female. Same if you're a congressman and your constituency is a specific area, chances are most of the people there are women. So I really don't know how they can excuse coming to these discussions uninformed. I mean, even our discussion of man versus bear, which is supposed to be this lighthearted, thought provoking question, I would argue, I don't even think it's up for argument that we came to that more prepared and took it more seriously than the 20 minutes that have gone viral of Senator Robin Padilla asking about consent. And that's just not okay, and as you said, this isn't the first time that male senators have done this. um this is such a pet peeve of mine, and I think about it all the time when this issue comes up, which is the fact that in 2023, all male senators held up the CHR's budget, the Commission on Human Rights budget, because it put out, I think, like a position paper finally calling on the government to decriminalize abortion, not to legalize it, not to fund it, not to encourage it, just to decriminalize it. Because right now, if you get an abortion or assist an abortion as a medical professional, you can go to jail. It's punishable. I don't think I have to tell everyone watching or listening that that puts us far behind most developed democracies in the world. um, and that I think, for example, for Robin right now, the excuse would be, I think what he said when he apologized was, I was just arguing on the level of where I feel most Filipinos are. Like, I think most Filipinos are confused about consent, which, one, I disagree. I hope that's not true. But also, two, you're a senator. You should be arguing and questioning on a higher level. And I think that's the same thing that happened with abortion. Male senators were invoking religion, which, not surprising. But none of them tried to argue with the CHR on the level of facts. Because if you look at the facts, it's so much more complicated than just religion. A million Filipinas get abortions every year, over a million. 1,000 of them die every year because abortions are unsafe because they're illegal. And that wasn't even part of the discussion. 1,000 women a year, that's 3 women a day. And nobody even brought that up, even though that's the very reason that the CHR finally agreed or called for the decriminalization of abortion. And I think that same pattern unfortunately repeats itself along the lines of many discussions. Men come to it with their preconceived cultural, religious ideas, they bring their upbringing or personal situation into it. But really, we should be looking at numbers and information and fact and context, because usually that narrows the discussion, informs it, and elevates it. But we are so far from that when it comes to women's issues. And I don't think there's an excuse for male senators doing that, because that's your constituency. Even if you're male, your constituency is majority female.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how about you, Tati?
I think I agree with Bella for the most part. Na parang um, I personally don't see a good enough excuse for some of these senators to be coming up to these hearings and asking these kinds of questions. Because you know, I this is the hearings aren't meant to be some kind of, for the lack of better term, some sort of explainer, because these hearings are mostly conducted to improve legislation, 'di ba? So if you want to improve legislation, you really have to be sticking to these facts and facing these realities na okay, we're a highly Catholic country, sure. These issues kasi they are just some of the most common issues that their constituencies, women Filipinos face on a daily basis. And parang, I don't think they recognize na parang asking these questions or making these kinds of statements kind of perpetuates these dangerous stereotypes siguro that men may have towards women. I think Bella mentioned religion as well, and it kind of um, reminded me kasi when we did an episode on divorce naman a few weeks back with Carl, the Ateneo Theology Department did also release the statement na and it part of it went something along the lines that said na parang they think that local parishes, local churches, maybe we aren't doing enough to better prepare married couples for marriage. And I think in the case of like line of questioning of Robin Padilla, there's always this one line na palaging sinasabi ng mga pastors or religious officiants during weddings, and parang women serve your husbands, women need to obey their husbands, serve their husbands. And I think his line of questioning also kind of came from that kind of mindset na parang yung babae yung dapat nagsaserve sa lalaki, and that also means like um, giving in to his sexual urges. So I think it's really a call for everyone in Power Church, Senate, and our officials especially to recognize these realities um, in our society, become this ally for women, and just really help lift them up by facing these realities, accepting them that these are happening, and realizing that you can do something about it.
We can't allow these things to keep on happening, right? So kasi it's been going on for so long. Especially we all know na we had a president, or our past president is a very misogynist person who also who's also responsible for perpetuating this kind of culture, right? um but as you said then, Tati, we have to do something, eh, 'di ba? We can't just always watch them from our screens and then feel bad about what they say or do, right? So siguro my last question would be, what do you think should we do so that these male senators, actually our senators naman din, 'di ba? In general, kasi you can also be a female, right, and be misogynistic, right, or not
Yeah.
be an ally for women also. So hindi lang siya about female versus male kind of thing. But of course, mas innate, I guess, yung ganong misogyny and mga harmful biases dun sa male senators natin. So, what do you think should we do to hold them accountable and force them to be better? And then, yung kakakibat nun is, as women, ano yung dapat din natin gawin para hindi matabunan yung mga issues that we care about and we know na important siya. Um, like what you've said, like access to reproductive health, right? Na hindi maka-experience ng discrimination and hindi maka-experience ng any forms of violence, 'di ba? Even from our spouses. So,
Yeah, I mean, I just want to acknowledge before that you made such a good point about President Duterte and how him being elected despite all the misogynistic things he said and him staying popular despite all the misogynistic things he continued to say. I think that really affected how our male elected officials in the Senate and Congress and even in lower levels of government acted and felt that they were permitted to act, or maybe even felt that it was beneficial for them to act in that certain way and to speak in a certain way. And I think the answer is also there. I think if we do a good enough job of making these elected officials feel that it actually impacts their popularity and their electability when they speak in this unacceptable way, that would be a big part of the solution. I mean, for example, for me, Padilla's apology, which was not really even apology, like slash explanation, it's not acceptable. And I think the same goes for a lot of the ways elected male officials try to explain away the way they talk and the way they act in their official capacity. I mean, when you think about it, we know what this hearing was supposed to be about, and the fact that he diverted the discussion and brought it down to this level again, it's like it's not just that you're uninformed, it seems like you have an agenda also, because you didn't even have to diverge in to this discussion about consent, and bring it down to that level. Or even the CHR example that I mentioned, that was supposed to be about the CHR's budget, but they derailed it and made it about abortion. So yeah, I mean, for me, it really is about doing a better job of holding these men to account. Another part of that is in terms of elections. Are you going to vote for people who talk about, as a woman, are you going to vote for people who talk about women's rights and safety in this way? And as a man who hopefully cares about women and equality and their rights, are you going to vote for other men who talk about women this way? So, I mean, it's just something to think about. Another option, I guess, would be to elect more women, which would be great because there are studies that show that even if the Philippines is a fairly equitable country, that's not true for the highest levels of government. So, Senate, Congress, Supreme Court. We are still very much outnumbered by men. So, that might also be an answer to that.
Yeah, I think Bella like hit a lot of really good points that I also wanted to make then. So it's really choosing allies really because like I mentioned earlier, there's really this need for allyship. So it's not just increasing representation of women, it's also increasing the number of men who are in office who understand or who took the time to do their homework and understand the issues that Filipinas face on a daily basis, and just really wanting to do something about it. Siguro to add lang din, one example that I think of that is Gabriela Women's Party List lawmaker Arlene Brosas. She actually reacted to Padilla's statements during that hearing, and she kind of said na his statements kind of make it clear na we still have a long way to go in terms of like educating Filipino men and young boys about the importance of consent. Um, and so she is introducing amendments to the anti-rape law and other related legislation in the House to be able to address this. So we hopefully we learn more of these amendments, and if ever they're deemed really good, hopefully they are eventually passed. I think one other thing that um, our government can do better in terms of um, making this a safer and better society where women can thrive is um, there is this law that does require all government agencies and units to allocate around 5% of their budgets to gender and development programs, or GAD programs. And these programs, even though there is that requirement, these GAD programs in local governments, in um, agencies, for example, they're still very underfunded and needed pa rin ng support. So I guess that's also one thing, really increasing that budget for GAD programs and not just parang hitting that 5% requirement just because. And also, putting that money into good use as well. For example, maybe the PNP can increase its GAD budget. When I did a paper for this a few years back, they've been trying to use this money to bring in more women um, into the police force and assigning them to um, the gender violence desks. So, there are studies that have been showing that kapag yung women survivor approaches uh, gender violence desk, parang mas comfortable or mas willing siyang mag-open up if babae yung kaharap niyang police. So that's one example. I think another example siguro for these non-law enforcement agencies is to just go beyond awareness, if that makes sense. Like there is still that huge need for awareness, pero what I mean by this is just going beyond like tarpaulins or Women's Month celebrations, or the lack of better term, and putting them into educational programs in your barangays or localities. Um, Maybe, for example, DepEd can put in that money to really improving um, gender and sex ed in our schools, which is still very medyo wonky pa rin yung implementation of that. So maybe they can put in the money to improve that. And yeah, just in general, electing allies and more women into positions, um, allocating more funds for these gender and development programs, and putting that money into good use, into programs that will actually make more of an impact um, for us, really. So yeah, I think those are just some of the things that come to mind for me as well.
Yeah. So you two actually raised a lot of important points, and I really like the points about having increased female representation, actually in all aspects naman, not just in government, and having allies, and these allies mean na hindi lang babae sa babae, right? But we welcome men, actually progressive men who share our ideals and who also really care about women's issues, no? So I hope our listeners, especially women, have gained new insights and feel empowered to take action rather than let the issues that we discussed persist. There's still a lot of work to be done, really. And I guess the key is just we have to remain critical and focused on what really matters for women and children, and ensure that we don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Thank you for spending time with us, and thank you, Bella and Tati, for having this conversation with me. If you found this insightful, why don't you share it with a friend who might also enjoy this discussion of women's rights in the Philippines? This episode was hosted by me, Jill Caro, and edited by Pidoy Blanco with editorial support from Carl Avier, our editor-in-chief and Puma Podcast CEO. So make sure you follow Teka Teka on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. so you can continue to get slow news that matters to you.